All right, I'll put a little quick blurb. Oh, I need to grab that picture. That's what I was looking for. Did you put it in the chat? Yeah, perfect. That one. Save image. Great. What you got?
Guys, did you take a livery back?
Maybe.
So our count's correct, but I only shipped him one.
Oh, I took one. I gave one to Ted. So it should be two. But I'm pretty sure we counted for those.
It's weird. So our count's correct, but by the shipment, it shows that I only shipped him one, but the count's correct. I just shipped another one, and the count's exactly 17.
Well, that's interesting. I hate it when we're right and we're wrong at the same time.
That might be one of those check back tomorrow and see.
Maybe Katana will fix it by overnight.
I hate to use the Katana being Katana excuse, but I had one situation where it was like this, where everything added up.
Yeah.
It was off by one. And when I checked the next day, it was right.
What's up, gentle people? I'm just getting something here on social media here real quick. I'll be with you 1 second. Join us for Whiskey Friday. Let me get my grammar right. It's happening already. Negative time. Where we talk about how your 997 GT3 Mezger is gonna eat itself, and what you can do about it. There we go. Whiskey Friday. God dang it. I hate it that I have to format this, make it look all pretty and professional and whatnot. Just freaking Whiskey Friday on our... Oh, I can put a link in here. I'm getting there, gents. Sorry. Justin was busy actually working and welding shit, so I had to do a bunch of this myself, which is why we're running late. So don't worry about it. Here. Finish this, put the YouTube link in there. For our Whiskey Friday. Or just our YouTube channel. You can add a link, right? The sticker. Yeah, sticker link. Howdy, y'all. How we doing? How was everyone's, what time is it in South Africa right now, Kuthala? I'm curious if you're like, if it's middle of the day, Saturday, or you're at 2 a.m. and you just got back from the pub and you're chilling and watching Whiskey Friday. I'm curious. I could look it up, but, you know, that's no fun. I'd much rather hear from you. Mr. Jack Curtis, wonderful to hear from you. Hello, Larry. How are you? Good to hear from you as well. Today, I've noticed here in recent months that Dundon's GT car intakes sales have fallen a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. It's 1:36 a.m. God bless you, brother. That's fantastic. Thank you, and cheers to you for joining us. You have a hell of a schedule to be up at 1:36 a.m. What's the future like? Absolutely. Kuthala's living from the future. Pretty crazy. Really mess your mind up here for a minute if you think about it. Real too hard. Is it a time warp? It's 1:36 a.m. on Saturday night? What the shit? So what's up, Toshport? So we want to talk a little bit about our intakes and give you all a why. And the why for a number of things is to prevent catastrophic failure. So that's a number one thing. And on the much heralded and much loved 997 engines, the intake is a weak point. There are a couple other weak points, but which we can get at. Harmonics being a big one. Don't run a lightweight flywheel. It's one, but that is not what we're here to talk about. Hence the exploding engine over my head. We're going to talk a little bit about one thing that you can do to safeguard your engine and make it such that you never have to worry about it ingesting. Yes, it will ingest it. It will gobble, gobble, gobble like Pac-Man. Nom, 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 nom. It will ingest the little screws. There we go. That you can see in these little flaps inside that cast aluminum intake manifold. This is the same center plenum for a 997.1 3.6 liter, 997.2 3.8, and a 997.2 4 liter. They're a little bit different, but the flaps are the same. There was at one point a recall for the 997.2 4.0 RS because it was doing it a lot. Now, here's some of the reasons why the 4.0 RS would preferentially do this. It isn't because the screws changed between the 3.8 and the 4.0. It's mainly because the harmonics and the amount of shaking that that engine goes through are stronger in the stroked 4 liter than they are in the 3.8 RS because of rod length, because of a number of things, because of crank harmonics. That's a much more in-depth topic for a different day. But we sell a harmonic damper that will help quell the shaking, but it won't necessarily keep those screws where they're supposed to be. Well, Jamie, can't you go in there and add some Loctite? Well, sure. And you don't think Porsche did that when they installed it. But sure, add some Loctite. See how long it lasts. I'm sure by keeping the screws in there, we'll make things better in the long run. What's going on, Oris? Happy Friday, y'all. Thanks for joining. So, recently had a local gentleman had his engine refreshed in his 3.8 RS, and it got all put back together. I was trying to get pictures from it from Jacob, couldn't get them. Got the car all put back together. He went out for one track day, and the car ingested screws from the intake. He had to repair 2 cylinders where those screws went down and chewed up the piston and the cylinder wall and all kinds of things, because engines don't like to ingest hardware, especially metal hardware. So one of the things that we did that is I'll say it's a happy byproduct of what we did with our 997 resonance intake manifold was we didn't use any flaps. And this was part of the design process that we wanted to go through to really, yeah, look at you go. That'll work. Sorry, I'm over here watching Justin balance shit and like put things on the Lazy Susan to get the camera all going. So we didn't plan it that way, but we didn't want to complicate our lives with complicated resonance equations with flaps going and changing the plenum volume and such. So you can notice the difference between our plenum on the right, made of nylon, like a modern. What's up, Thomas West? How you doing, brother? We're talking about Mezgers eating themselves and that they all eventually will. So run for the hills. Cheers, brother. Thank you. Run for the hills or buy our parts. That, you know, we're trying a different tact here, as opposed to it makes power. Your engine's going to explode. So we'll see how fear works as a motivator for gentlemen that have 997 GT3s. The plenum on the right in the picture is our nylon plenum. The plenum on the left is the 997 cast aluminum plenum. This is out of 3.6. It's actually out of the pumpkin. My 997.1 GT3 RS. And you can see the plenum on the right has no flaps. It has no shafts. It has no nothing to fall in the engine. So you're good. Aloha from Hawaii. What's going on, Cher? Your mom joined. So you can see that in doing this, we eliminate a failure mode, which for anyone with a 997, this is an important thing. We actually have a customer in Florida. His name's Pervez. Longtime customer. He's bought lots of parts from us over the years. He has a 997.2, and this thread appeared on Renlist about some guys that were having trouble, and their stock plenum let go of the screws. They got ingested in the engine. They had to do an engine rebuild, and he stopped driving his 997.2 RS. He waited until our Labor Day sale, bought the resonance intake plenum, and installed it on the nice. God, are you watching Whiskey Friday while riding your motorcycle? TW, seriously? That's some heavy shit right there. That's some commitment. I would not recommend that, but at least I can get you plenty of sound bites so that you don't have to watch. Pervez got the complete manifold, got it on his otherwise stock car, picked up some power, and now drives his car with impunity, not worried about anything that might happen to his car or any of the rest, which is fantastic because we have these cars to enjoy them, right? If you have a car as a lawn ornament, as a friend of mine was saying about the $2.7 million Lamborghini Countach that's on Bring a Trailer right now, he's like, that'd be great to have as a lawn ornament. I wouldn't really drive it, and I don't know why I'd spend $3 million on something to put in my lawn. So there's that. There's car guys that buy stuff to look at in their house. They're the 60-year-olds that have supermodels that, you know, save them for the next guy. Not sure about that, but there's guys that buy cars to drive them. I am of the second tribe. I like to buy cars to drive them. Damn the value. All right, Justin, can we throw up the two runners? Because we talk about power gains. Let's have people understand what the difference is. Is this a Ferrari chat? Fair. I had a 458. I belong to that tribe briefly and recently. So I've recently gotten into the British tribe of Aston Martin. So that's a tribe I think I belong to. Everybody around here says I look right in that car, so that's kind of cool. So we can take a look first at the port diameters, port cross section. One, it's complicated, but every time you ask the port to change shape, there's some downside to that. Agreed, Kuthala, 100%. You know, if you got a 3RS, you drive it. If you've got a Countach, drive it, enjoy it, PPF it, save it, don't abuse it. I mean, guys like Lumber, what the hell is his name? Lumber 21 on Instagram. Yeah, he has a lumber business. I get it, but literally, he takes his brand new cars and thrashes them, covers them with dirt, drives them through the lumber yard like gravel rally, which is groovy, but I would never buy one of his cars. I track my cars. I try and keep them nice and clean, but Whistling Diesel, yeah. There's a bunch of guys. Well, he does it for the YouTube. Lumber 21 just does it because he owns it. He's not a YouTube guy. He just is a entrepreneur with a successful business that can. So he does. Anyway, going back to intake runners, you can see the shape difference. And if Justin turns those around, you can see the shape of the runners, the length of the runners, the width and cross-sectional area of the runners. They're substantially different between ours and 3.6. This is from a 3.6 plenum. And Porsche did make changes from the 3.6 to the 3.8 to the 4.0. Were they substantially different? Not really. The 4.0 got a little bit fatter. It got a little bit meaning larger diameter, so there'd be slightly less loss. They were all about the same length, and I'm kind of talking above my pay grade. Charles knows this in detail, and he's got to put a starter in his wife's car. So he's out there in the shop getting a starter in the car because they took a trip. He took last Friday off. They took a trip up in the mountains, and of course the car acted up after he kind of knew that the starter was already bad. So that starter's got to get the fuck in the car. You never want to piss mama off. So there you go. That's why Charles isn't here giving some education to y'all beyond what I can do, because I'm decent. I'm just not. I'm like most engineers. I'm adequate at a lot of things, but I'm not an expert in really any one of them. So, including accounting, which that's a conversation for a different day. We're not getting in tax trouble. We didn't do anything bad, and just generally annoyed that I have to be Dundon Motorsports accountant. Different conversation. Much rather be Dundon Motorsports technologist. That's much more interesting and more fun. But yeah, being Dundon Motorsports HR department and accounting department, kind of it's cheers. It's whiskey. That's the difference there. That, you know, that's why Whiskey Friday for accounting and HR. Anywho, so getting a chuckle out of somebody at least. The intake runners, the 93 millimeter or 100 millimeter throttle body, the whole package for your 997 adds power, reduces risk of failure, and is really dialed in. Can you share the picture of the carbon air box that I dropped in social media? Nope, the 997 carbon. Sorry, yeah, I wasn't specific. 997 carbon air box would be, there you go, perfect. So, as a nice addition to your resonance intake, we offer a carbon air box. This carbon air box, let's explain why air boxes can make power. Dude, it's scary, right? Jamie is the head of HR. It's why we call Gabe has joined the chat. Welcome, Gabe. Gabe is a longtime friend of Dundon. Him and Jason Chin rock a really, really highly developed 991.2 GT3 RS in a number of local time attacks. Gabe is the hot shoe. He is the driver. He is Brazilian. He's fiery. He wants to come and get you. He wants to come and get you. He is not happy when he loses. We play faraway crew chief and remind him and the certain things on the car in a timely fashion. Gabe gets annoyed with me, but it's kind of my job. It's all good. I will take my job as it is, as the faraway crew chief. So carbon air box. Why does an airbox, or how can an airbox make horsepower? So let's talk about what a naturally aspirated engine needs to make horsepower. We can reference any of the Fast and Furious movies. Danger to Manifold comes to mind. Danger to Manifold, right? Too much boost. You've got too much boost in the manifold. What is boost? Boost is pressure. It's not volume. It's not flow. It's pressure. Well, that's curious. If in a turbo engine, pressure is horsepower, in a naturally aspirated engine, it's flow? No, it's got to also be pressure, right? It's also pressure. It is pressure. It's always pressure. If one thing you get from Dundon Motorsports, when we're long gone and buried, is that if the car people would stop fucking talking about flow, that would be amazing. Ever seen the bolt that holds the airbox down come loose and get sucked into through the plenum? No. The bolt in the, Larry, you need to be a little bit more specific. The bolt in the airbox, which airbox? The airbox, like this airbox, our 997 airbox? No, because there's filters there. It's impossible for it to get past the filters. But good question. We'll come back to that. So if pressure is the thing, then how does an air box with larger filters, pardon me, have help a naturally aspirated engine to create more power? Well, here's how. If you have, when air comes through an orifice, there are a number of equations, Bernoulli's equations, Navier-Stokes equations, et cetera, that in essence will tell you that for the air to speed up, it has to consume pressure for velocity. Meaning for the air to increase in speed, it has to use pressure to do that. You see this with a tornado. Very large, low pressure center in a tornado, very high air speeds, normal high pressure on the outside of the tornado. Creates a very high airspeed to try and get to the low pressure center. The corollary is if we slow the air down and we give it a lot of surface area to get through, a giant hole, if you will. It doesn't have to go fast, it needs to go slow. If it has to slow down, it actually increases its pressure. This is something that Porsche exploited in the Club Sport 2RS, in the intake manifold, and in the GT2 RS. That they do it for temperature and for another reasons, but that's physics, and they're smart folks, and that's what they did. But the gist is, if you slow air down, then you increase pressure. If you don't ask the air to speed up, then you don't lose pressure. The whole idea of a naturally aspirated engine is we're trying to get the air pressure that is in the atmosphere to get to the intake valve without any losses. If we can get it there without any losses, we've done our jobs as engineers. If we can get it there with additional pressure through resonance, bouncing intake waves, we'll talk about that. We've talked about this in the past, and we will continue to talk about it. When the intake valve closes, the air that was going through the intake valve has to stop, and it bounces. Creates pressure wave, all of that air being a compressible fluid. Air is compressible fluid. You can squish a balloon. It's not solid. It's not ice. It's not a solid. It's compressible. It's also not full of water. That's a bad analogy. Water balloon is a bad analogy for a compressible fluid. Looking over here at my other engineer, because the rubber bounces in different directions. It's kind of a weird thing. The water moves, but only because the boundary condition of the rubber is elastic. But if it was but indeed, if it was a steel water balloon, we have a number of things in play. But yes, everybody else is chuckling in here. It's good. Engineers are awesome. Sometimes their mouths engage before their better sense does, and mine happens all the time. That's why you guys love Whiskey Friday. It happens a lot. So anyway, if we can keep the air slow, then we don't consume pressure. Pressure is the power source for the air. Pressure is what collects all of the oxygen molecules and concentrates them versus flow. So just, if you don't get it, it's fine. Throw it in the comments. We can educate you with what we know over here. Bigger air filters, bigger surface area of air filters allow slower airflow than smaller air filters. And in Gabe's specific, in the winter circle specific case, when the air filters are so clogged up with dirt that no air can get through, eventually you're running a restrictor on your engine and it doesn't make horsepower. So that was a while ago. We got that figured out, tuned the car, didn't make power. What the hell? This was not with our airbox. It's another reason to run extra large air filters because as they get dirty, they still allow the air to come through without pressure loss. Pressure loss is the villain in the story. We don't want pressure loss. We want to keep all the pressure. Like my big man Ted said, mo pressure, mo better. We want mo pressure, makes things mo better. So we've got, to that end, we've got a couple pictures of 991 GT3 RS intakes. These are the cars that have the side intakes. And this is, I have one here beside me. Oh, bonk, bonk, bonk. There you go. You can see it right here. It's a beautiful piece of carbon fiber, crabs on fire. This allows the 991 cars to make substantially more power than they would. Now, does that alone, like we compete with a friend of mine's company, E Venturi. They make a similar style. Pressure no kaoi. Pressure is the best. I know a little bit. Not a lot, but I know a little bit. At least I know that one. E Venturi's solution to this is to no, a turbo helps you. Sorry. That's another one for the blooper reel. Yes, a turbo helps you. Yeah, that's great. Anything you can do. So anything that works in a naturally aspirated build works in a turbo build, because then the turbos don't have to work as hard. So if you can make it such that the turbos get exactly, Justin, you caught on. He's like, what the fuck? Nice estimate. It worked. You gotta instill fear in a motherfucker to take him to action sometimes. You can't just like tell him about niceties and this is good for you and you need to eat your broccoli. You're gonna die of cancer if you don't eat broccoli. Oh, and if you eat broccoli, you're gonna die of oxalates. So you're fucked, and you're fucked. There you go. You're fucked. We're all fucked. Yay! Drink. Yeah, right? This is not for children. Justin's like, you said fuck in like 6 times in 10 seconds. That's bad. Correct. So, Rob, the gist is if you restrict the turbo inlet is the same thing as running less filter, running a in what, like for instance, you see a lot of FD3 Mazdas where they've done turbo upgrades and they have the little mushroom filter on the turbo inside the engine. There's no cold air. It's all hot air. That's a problem, right? And the reason that's a problem is because you have less dense air that you're now trying to compress, and you're making the turbo's job harder. If you can get it cold air, you get a number of additional benefits. One, you have cold, dense air that the turbo is trying to condense, because the turbo's job is to compress the air, which adds heat. Now you have to extract heat from it before it gets into the engine. The engine doesn't want to run on hot air. Lots of bad things happen with hot air. Detonation is more likely. You can put less fuel molecules with oxygen because the air is less dense, et cetera, et cetera. About killing turbo and not the NA. No, we're talking about the NA, brother. Just go back and watch the beginning. We're talking about NA. But Rob had a question about the turbo and an intake as far as surface area and reducing pressure loss across an intake for a turbo car. It's the same things. E Venturi, the guys that I was talking about, my buddy's company, they built their business on enhancing the turbo's performance by reducing the pressure loss in an intake for turbo cars, mainly in BMWs. So yeah, that works. The where I was going with that is it's only part of the problem. It's only part of the problem. In the 991 RS, it's only part of the problem. The 991 RS has panel filters. They are of low surface area. Our filters are substantially larger in that car. Look, it's as big as my head. You can't see me. Now you can. Now you can. Now you can't. It's as big as my head. And it wraps all the way around, and there's two of them. And we run these in a reverse configuration. So this is where the duct comes in from the car. It comes in through here, comes through the filter, slows down, goes into the box. You made me small again. There we go. Goes into the box, and then goes out into the plenum. Now, got one of these on each side. Why did we go through the difficulty of building this thing if we didn't believe that there was a benefit to building a plenum in addition to the intake? So the same thing's going on. Come back to that. We don't have just OPF deletes. You'd have to buy a full header system, so a bit. The plenum, we designed this for a 93 or 100 millimeter intake, and the stock throttle body is 82 millimeters. The like we were saying, anytime you make air go through a restriction, it has to speed up and it has to lose pressure. So we made it such that the plenum, this is the center section of the stock intake manifold of this is hard to see on this camera. It's like, it's like it doesn't reflect light. There we go. The plenum, in combination with the airbox, I put some other pictures up in there. Can you throw I didn't grab the dyno, but I did grab the before and after 60 to 130s. There you go. So if you can put them both up, can you do that? Yeah? Okay. Cool. Justin can do anything. It's awesome. So here is a 991.2 GT3 with our reverse those so that I can talk about them. The 1016 on the left and the 893 on the right. There you go. Perfect. I'll answer your question, Justin. Don't freak out. But yes, you would need our complete resonance intake manifold to eliminate that 997 Mezger problem, and I'll come back to talking about it. So the combination of the plenum, the airbox, the throttle body, and our headers to create a good suction wave creates a substantial increase in performance. We see 52 pound-feet, and I didn't copy it. I probably should have. I think it's 45 wheel horsepower at high RPM. It's like 28 peak and 45 max. I should have grabbed the dyno. I didn't. So your 991.2 GT3 RS is not breathing adequately. This combination of parts allows it to breathe adequately and make power. So much so that in combination with a tune, and yeah, it feels like it's Vanta Black, doesn't it? It doesn't want to show up on camera. It's crazy. Just nylon and the texture of it doesn't want to show. So this combination is very potent for a number of cars. 991.2 GT3, we have a similar construction for this. That in combination with a tune, we get over 60 horsepower peak. This is a local manual car. We were all floored. It was like 445 stock. It's 502 wheel horsepower with a Cobb tune and our D3 package. This is bolt-ons. We don't have to do anything to the engine. This is more than a 992 3RS by a lot. This is more than a GT4 RS. This is more than any Porsche that we were aware of. There's the engine cannot be overstated. It can't be overstated. And it's why I want to take a little time, because there was a while where we didn't have to really help folks understand why. Yeah, on 92 octane. It's not on MS 109. Help them understand the why of these improvements such that they might need more. Yes, Seth has this on his RS. Seth gets everything GT3 Matty. And thank you for joining us, brother, from Florida. It's late. Yeah, actually, the pic of the carbon airbox on the red car is Seth's car. So, and Seth installed all of that himself because he's a rock star. He's had both the plastic one and so Justin, let's talk about your 997 here for a second. Yeah, that's the one. Go ahead and show that. So Justin, this is the part you need. And we talked about this. So you do this, you do headers, we get you a Cobb tune, your car's going to jump 65 wheel horsepower. You got a 997.1 GT3, right? If I remember right. So it is a substantial improvement, both in power and in just not having to worry about shit, because there's nothing that's going to fall out of this intake. There's nothing in there to fall out. So, the steering from the 991.2 isn't that bad. I mean, yeah, 7.1 GT3, center cut, brother. You already got credit from what you sent us from your 981. Let's make it happen. Get this all dialed for you. Poof. No, it will not explode. It will not explode. I promise you that. It will not explode. And it's plastic. Let's talk a little bit about why is it plastic, Jamie? I thought cast aluminum was better. This is great. So there is a large company that has been selling Porsche intakes for a long time. I'll let you guys fill in the blanks in that regard. And they have something in their frequently asked questions that has physics backwards. And I shared this with Philip, our manufacturing engineer, and he was aghast. Aghast, is that appropriate? Seems appropriate for the season. We're closer to Halloween than we are to July 4th at this point. So he lost brain cells reading it. So do we have a snippet of that? Can we share it and read it aloud?
Yep.
You gonna cleanse it, or are we just gonna show it?
No, we're gonna cleanse it.
All right, he's cleansing it. We'll come back to that. But essentially, it was as if you were a very hot person and you're walking around in Phoenix and you laid down on the sidewalk, that you would cool down by laying down on the sidewalk. That's the gist of what they're saying. That sensically doesn't seem right. So, shouldn't actually be right, and quite frankly, it isn't right. So, I'm looking at some of the comments. Justin, let me clarify some of that. The 997.1 has intake variable cam timing. It does not have exhaust variable cam timing. The 997.2 has variable cam timing on the exhaust. It is the variable cam timing bolts on the because of the addition of the exhaust and the fact that it's a 3.8, that it will spit out the bolts. That's crank harmonics. That's different than what we're talking about with the intake. Getting a damper, this is why I told you get a dot one, not a dot two, JT3. Getting a harmonic damper on all Mezgers is highly advisable. Highly advisable. It quells the crank's desire to shake. And there are a number of RPMs that a Mezger's crank will want to shake quite violently. 997.1 doesn't see issues from it because it's a 3.6. It's not a 3.8. There's less mass ringing the crankshaft. 4.0 has more problems than a 3.8. Those are the ones that ate oil pumps, much to the chagrin of the people that were heckling me on YouTube when I said it previously, that there were only 600 of them made in the world, so therefore they didn't drive them, so how would you know? I guess I'm guessing. I don't know. I just made that shit up. So, yeah. So the intake bolt issue on your car is still relevant and real because you have the same intake manifold as all of the other cars. Is it as prevalent? That's bad. If you have a 3.8 RS pulley on the 3.6, that's bad. Now it's lighter than it was on the 3.6. You need our harmonic damper on your 3.6 liter, not a 3.8 RS pulley. There's a whole lot of, it's unfortunate, there's a whole lot of BS that comes into performance tuning, that lighter is better, lighter flywheel is better, lighter pulley is better, everything lighter is better. It's not. It's not always better. The reason it's not always better is there are other things going on than just rotational mass. This is going down a bit of a rabbit hole, but let's go back to why we built things out of plastic and not out of cast aluminum. Hold on, Justin. We'll come back. So, do the cast aluminum plenums, maker up of shit? Exactly. Jamie is the maker up of shit. I am the chief. What would that? The CMOS? Chief maker up of shit? Shit maker. I'm the CSM. I am the chief shit maker. That's actually more real than it's not, because Monday meetings are like, what the fuck, man? How much shit can you make? I can make a lot of shit. All good. So yes. Do the cast aluminum plenums experience heat soak? So let's read this for what it is. I can't quite read all of it. Can you make that a little smaller for me?
Smaller?
Yeah, just a little bit. I can't read the edges.
Oh.
And I do not.
You can read it on flat, maybe.
He can make it a little smaller. It's all good. Yeah, just tiny touch. These fruit flies like my whiskey. They need to go away. A little more. You can go a little more. Good. Right there. Okay, so aluminum has a relatively low thermal mass. What's thermal mass? Other engineer in the room, what's thermal mass?
The same as normal mass, but with thermal in front of it.
It's the same as normal mass, but with thermal in front of it, is what the most recently graduated, educated man in the building. I've had my engineering degree for a while. So
I think they meant high thermal conductivity.
I think they meant that it has a relatively low thermal mass, aka a high thermal conductivity. It's capable of heating up quickly. Yes, because metals are dense, because of the molecular packing configuration, it's not capable of storing much energy. Correct, it transmits energy very easily, meaning that if you heat up one side, the other side gets hot, because energy flows from hot to cold, not cold to hot. But we'll keep going. While theoretically it does have a higher thermal mass than plastic, the resulting change in the air temperature is minimal. come again? At such and such a company, we pay close attention to the whole package, not only the fluid effects of airflow, but also the thermal and mechanical. The mechanical effects of airflow are quite something to be identified. You know, what you got?
You want to torch one of our use intake plenums? We'll like torch the aluminum one and measure what.
Ooh, how hot it gets? Ooh, we got an on-screen demo coming up. I love it. So Justin's going to go grab a torch, and we're going to measure the inside of an aluminum plenum and the inside of a plastic plenum. This is not something we've done before, so I'm hoping that this doesn't completely foil my my entire jam. So we might hold that for next time. Essentially, what they're going to is aluminum, no doubt, gets hotter faster, but it also gets colder faster. Yes, but the problem is that the engine bay is hot, and that the cold air going through the intake is cold, and that if the aluminum transfers energy effectively, like aluminum does, and far better than plastic, then you will transmit more heat to the intake air through aluminum or metal than you will plastic. Plastic is said differently, plastic is a better insulator than aluminum. Alcohol and playing with torches, yeah. And Justin's an ER doc. He's the one to know. So should we pour alcohol in the intake manifolds and light it on fire with torches? That seems like a good idea. So luckily, Justin has not drank much at all today. Not any alcohol, at least. Probably some Red Bull and some Monster and some other things. But
13 cups of coffee. Oh. 8 cups.
only 8 cups of coffee. So
So then I only did 6.
there's still some over there. So take that.
Sorry.
Suck it up. So Justin would like us to pour some alcohol inside there and light that on fire.
I would like you to pour some alcohol in here too.
Jesus Christ. We're doing the outside in, motherfuckers. Give me a break. I'm channeling my inner Raza when he decides to tune in. So my buddy Raza that I started RK Auto Works with, which he still runs and is doing quite well. Good for you, brother. He's looking at buying a Porsche, and this scares me. He wants to buy a GT3 RS, and this terrifies me that he's going to break it and then call me and be like, hey, I broke it. I thought you knew about these. What the hell? So, going back to this claim about aluminum being a better material than plastic for heat soak, it's wrong. Just know that it's wrong. If you don't understand the science, call me. We can talk about science. But even though chief maker up of shit I might be, the physics of the world I did not make up. That shit's been around for a long time. So, and if you don't believe me, take off your shoe when you're walking around in Austin and it's 110 degrees and put your naked foot on the sidewalk and let me know if your foot gets colder or hotter, because that will answer the question. I don't know how you're going to do this. You're going to have to record that and then we'll have to share it. So, I think you're going to need Philip's help for that. You need somebody to hold and somebody to torch and somebody to make sure that we actually get this on camera.
And I see that I'm hoping that I can actually.
That's a new one, by the way.
That's a new one?
Uh-huh.
Do we have a shit
No.
That was in the room on the shelf.
Let's save this for another day.
I have a prototype.
You do? All right. We'll continue on with something else. Does the thermal camera actually
That's what I wanted
thermally camera? Whoa. We're doing experiments live while we're live. So it's like live and live.
Shows where I put my hand.
Oh, actually just do that. Just use your hand. That's perfect. Just put your hand on top of the aluminum. That's enough.
that on this.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. All right, so Justin's going to get set up. Then we're going to share this because this is actually, it's exciting, crazy. The gist, here's another reason why. So they talk about later, this particular company talks about why Porsche used cast aluminum in the 996 and the 997 and the 997 GT3R and all of these other ones and the 959. It's because cast...
Extraordinary 959.
The extraordinary 959. Thank you. It's because they hadn't gotten injection molding down so that it was cheaper. Cast aluminum still was. So there are advantages to a lightweight flywheel GT3 Matty. The engine will rev quicker, but what is the consequence for the engine revving quicker? The consequence for the engine revving quicker is that the amount of harmonics that are going through the crankshaft will not be dampened. So 911R, it's fine. Dude, the whole intake's getting hot. All right, we're gonna cut to our live feed. Action Jackson. It looks just white on the picture, on the camera. It doesn't look doesn't have the same color saturation as the IR camera. It's not purple to orange, it's white.
It's probably hard to tell on the screen.
Yeah. Here, show me the camera. Oh, fuck, we can't. Can you take a snippet? We don't know how to use the camera we've got. We'll just say that, but.
I can take a snippet.
Bill Nye the Science Guy, brother. That's us. Oh, there you go. He's just going to grab the Android. We got a camera with a camera and another camera to take a video of the camera so we can get y'all the actual results. Ooh, flame is hot. Flame is hot. That's perfect. That's perfect. Throw some plastic up there. He's like, I'm a welder. I don't have feeling in my fingertips anyway, so.
I'm a TIG welder.
I'm a TIG welder.
So it's a little different. We don't like things dirty either. Yeah.
God, it might be Vanta Black. You can't even see the plenum on the thermal camera. Oh, look, it doesn't heat up. We're going to melt the fucking nylon if we keep going. You can see the flame, but you can't see anything getting into the inside. A little bit? Little tiny bit? Oh, yeah, there's a little bit right up there. But the whole plenum didn't get hot. This is Action Jackson on Action 9 News. With your thermal camera imaging report for the evening. Holy hell. This is exciting. So we're gonna let Justin process these. The difference is obvious. Car goes faster. Yeah, literally. Careful of the smoke alarm. Luckily, we didn't light the nylon on fire. That's the one thing that aluminum has over plastic is you can't burn it. Well, you can, but it's much higher temperatures than you can melt plastic. I like cameras and cameras that take pictures of cameras while I'm on camera. It's crazy. A whole lot of cameras. So, totally. You didn't know your son was Science Guy, did you? Justin knows all kinds of science. He's our local metallurgist. He checks us before we wreck ourselves often.
Math guy too.
Right? He's got the argon and the nitrogen dialed.
Oh, speaking of, let's go over that one. That's low.
Oh yeah. We can talk about that. So we made some upgrades to the shop this week, which are really cool. Do you have some of those picks? We put a really big tank outside. I did want to talk about that. We also can't forget Barry's car. So we do have to talk about Barry's car. So there we go. You can just let that video play while you're getting your other stuff done. Now you can just talk about it.
It's our distillery being installed.
I love it. This is our what do they call them? In a distillery where they're not yes, in the distillery where they're distilling things. It's awesome. This would be where you're letting the grain denature such that it starts to create alcohol, and I cannot remember the name of that vat. Masher.
Yeah.
Something like that, right? So anyway, you guys can see this. We had a large crane outside. We've got the tank in the foredistance. Foredistance. Does that make sense? Is that a word? Am I making shit up?
Hey, it is now.
It is now. Foreground in the background. Ooh, that's much better. That's what the back of it is? I didn't see that.
The heat exchangers.
That's cool. I didn't see the heat exchangers. So we got a cryo tank. It has liquid argon in it because we have been consuming a lot of argon. Argon is used, for those of you who don't know, when you are welding in a way that you do not want the welds to be contaminated with oxygen, because most folks know when you are welding metals, oxygen is the thing that creates rust. It is a contaminant, and rust is weaker than metal, so you want to eliminate oxygen from your welds. The way that you do that is you displace air. The way that you displace air is by flowing an adequate amount of a noble gas. Argon is the most attainable noble gas for us that is inexpensive. That's why it is used in welding. Helium, krypton, neon, a number of other noble gases are possible to use, but they're more difficult to obtain and much more expensive. So argon, it's naturally occurring in our environment. We can pull it out from the constituents of air a little bit easier than some of the others. So argon is what's used. It displaces oxygen. We flow it at a high rate. When we're building the GT4RS mufflers, we have to use a lot of it because we have to fill up the muffler with argon to be able to ensure that all of the welds are appropriately purged, is the welding term, meaning that all of the oxygen is missing. You do not incorporate it when you add heat to the weld. Did I screw any of that up?
No, not really.
Mostly right? Mostly right?
Unless you want to talk about how you don't have gas, the arc shoots sparks and
It just starts to oxidize it.
it oxides the
Oh.
tungsten.
That's cool. Yeah, that's
Pretty specific.
that's pretty specific. I would be remiss if I started talking specifically about how tungsten arcs without a argon coverage, but that's a TIG welding thing. TIG welder's thing. Anyway, so this got put in, and it looks like Justin's ready to show the difference between. Yeah, do the middle one first. Show those bright colors. Oh, wow, that's really bright. So for those who are watching, we took a torch to an aluminum intake to show the heat difference and how much the inside of an aluminum intake increases versus a plastic intake, which doesn't even seem to heat up. So you tell me which one's going to keep your intake air cooler as it's going through your engine. An aluminum intake or a plastic one?
Got a little bit towards the end.
Got a tiny little bit after melting the outside of the nylon intake. This is why Porsche went to nylon intakes. Is there aluminum intakes in a 991.2 GT3 RS? No. Is there one in a Cup car? No. Is there one in a GT3R? No. I could keep going, but you guys are getting annoyed with me saying no. So I'm not going to do that. Pretty cool to show in live. Great idea. Kudos to me for buying the IR camera. Kudos to Justin for figuring out how to use it. We did have another way to use it. We are going to try and use it to understand differences in welding. That did not work out as we would have hoped, but that's okay. This was worth it. So to summarize, tonight's general theme was intakes help you make horsepower. There are a number of ways that they can help you make horsepower. They generally, from Dundon, eliminate pressure loss, and there are added benefits that they can save your engine from catastrophic damage and emotional damage. Because emotional damage, I can't do it with the correct Vietnamese accent. I don't have one of those. So the to only concentrate on an exhaust is folly. That's one side of the equation. To add both an intake and an exhaust gets you the appropriate racer upgrades. Those of you who are old enough will understand what I'm saying. When you take, for the 997, we have incorporated pressure wave enhancements to ensure that yes, answering a question in real time. I'll come back to my summary, but we'll get that. Would carbon fiber be similar to nylon? Yes, because essentially carbon fiber reinforced plastic, CFRP, is what carbon fiber is known as, generally speaking. So it is a plastic. It is a resin-rich media. That resin is a polymer. That polymer cures to be a plastic. So yes, it's an insulator. You want an intake that is an insulator. You do not want an intake that is a conductor of heat.
Nuh-uh.
Crazy, right?
Because by that logic, we need to have copper intakes.
Yeah, copper intakes would be even better than aluminum by that. So what's funny, the Aston Martin, this is crazy. So Aston Martin has an upgrade. Those of you that know me know that I bought an Aston Martin. I have a new Aston Martin. It's V12. It's awesome. I love it. I cannot help myself. I want to upgrade it. I've already figured out what the upgrades are from Aston Martin. Aston Martin Racing has a set of upgrades for a titanium. Yeah, flash that up there because it's pretty. Titanium rear section. So that's just like headers back and a titanium muffler, which is great. Muffler on the Aston Martin is really tiny. Really loud already, but it has an aftermarket muffler, so I'm not sure. We'll see. I want to do headers on it because the car is incredibly inefficient. and this bugs me. It's a 6-liter V12. It makes plenty of horsepower. It's not that it needs more. It's that it doesn't make more than 100 horsepower per liter. That bugs me. Because all of our shit makes way more than 100 horsepower per liter. Like, way, way more. Like, we held the record. The unofficial record. We held the record with the 991.1 GT3 for a long time in horsepower per liter. Now, this was not something that Motor Trend touted. This is something that we were happily sitting by ourselves and saying, haha, we're better than that, because the 458 had the horsepower per liter record at the time, which is great. But ours was better. Anyway, the intake manifold on the, yes, I think the 3.8, we got it up to 440 out of a 3.8 liter. And that's wheel horsepower. Converted to brake horsepower is like 500 out of a 3.8, something like that. So I have to do the math again, but we were well north of 125. Anyway, the Aston has aluminum intake runners currently. They moved them to magnesium in the kit from Aston Martin Racing, which is what they put on the GT12, which is great.
Gimmick.
It's not a gimmick. It's what they put on the GT12. It's fine. They can cast magnesium. It's lighter. I think so. That looks right. I think they're black, but that's fine. That's close enough to get you an idea. I think that's a Countach. That's V10.
This?
Yeah.
No, it says Aston. Oh, that's a DV9. That's why.
What? That should still have 12. Can I not see the last one?
Probably not.
I'm like, I only see 5. That would be a V10. Anyway, so there's a part of me, because I had an E46 M3, and BMW smart. They use carbon fiber for a lot of this. It sounded amazing. I'm like, a carbon intake manifold on an Aston Martin would be fucking insane. It would just howl. It's really big. It's got a lot of carbon fiber. It would just like resonate like crazy. It would be really dope. Anyway, go on. Let's talk about Barry's car for a second, not mine, because my car doesn't sell parts. Barry's car will. So, Ted is going to COTA here in about a week and a day. Today is the 20th. Yeah. Today's 20th. So he's going the 28th. There you go. Eric's 991.2 G3, 142 horsepower per liter. Boom. CSL intake on the V12 Vantage. That's what I'm thinking, Jack. I'm like, couple of CSL intakes on both sides. I think that sounds fucking crazy on this car. So I might save the headers and just invest some time on doing a carbon intake for the V12 Vantages. Just because personal pet project, because I can. Sadly, as I say that, Charles is over there listening going, but if we did this and we did that, then it would make even more. And then it's a project, and I'm not sure. Oh, Larry heard the first startup. Right on, Larry. That's cool. So Barry, you got the pictures up? Yeah. So this is Barry Minor. It's track time. His GT4 RS. We talked a few months ago, and he did a full setup. So full setup from us is power. He did headers and our GT4 RS muffler. So it sounds the business. He did our flavor of MCS 3-way dampers. He did a few of our suspension arms and components. He did our aerodynamic package, and he left the brakes stock, and I believe he left the wheels stock. I think he's running stock-ish tires. I forget what tires he's running. Anyway, we'll get him on 19s, PFCs, and Supercar 3Rs eventually. Yeah, you can kind of see there's probably... Are they Cup 2Rs? Did he get Cup 2R? Oh, shit. Oh, shit. So we're doing Manthe level fuck you for the stock versus modified. Cup 2Rs, and hopefully Ted gets to put the first laps down. Because, oh, he's on Hoosiers. You got Hooties and 20s? Yeah, I suppose you do. Are they Hoosiers? All right. All right. So we'll see. Anyway, he had Hoosiers on the car for Randy. Hopefully we could run Hoosiers when we're done. If we're running on Cup 2s, that's kind of fucked. You got to make a phone call, Ted. If it's Hoosiers on the car stock, then we got to run at least Hoosiers. Yes. Go back and watch a video. I don't know. Anyway, so Barry's car is finishing up. Is finished, actually. This is from our friends at Black Sheep that did the alignment and the geometry. Our friends at Saga, Felix and company, built the car, put all the parts on it, which is fantastic. Felix is great people. Saga are fast, and any of you lucky enough to work with Saga will continue to go fast. Let's go Hoosiers, absolutely. We'll come back to that because we're not done yet. We got to talk about tires before we're done. Ted will be there in 8 days, I believe, maybe 7 days, and he's going to help Barry shake the car down at Coda. Is it 1 day or 2 days at the track? I think it's 1 day. But car looks fantastic. It's going to be substantially quicker than it was stock. And I can't wait for Randy Popes to come back and drive the car in its current condition. Hopefully we get a number of y'all to believe that we aren't selling smoke. We're not selling snake oil, that the parts do work and the parts will make your car faster. And that plastic insulates better than aluminum. So 2 days. Yeah. Woo! That's awesome. It means Barry's going to go a lot faster too. A little coaching, little go fast. Yeah, you don't do that 1 day shit in Texas. Word up, Larry. That's right. So Larry, congrats to Larry. Larry has been a GT4 owner for a long time. He's been just recently finished his Lab Rat build. Then he found a 4RS. And his 4RS is soon to be here. And we've got a construct for his 4RS to be able to get him stepping stones to take the parts that will move from the GT4 to the GT4 RS. So I'm very excited for Larry because his car's going to rip. Let's talk about tires here for a second. There was one that was released just a couple days ago from Hoosier, of all companies, and it is the Track Attack Pro. The Track Attack Pro is a 200 tread wear, quote unquote, tire that is available in a number of sizes. They are currently focusing on 19-inch, but they will eventually get to 20 and 21-inch, up to 345 millimeter widths in the 21-inch and 19-inch varieties. So this has made us wonder, would the GT3 RS, the 992 GT3 RS, benefit from a Hoosier Track Attack Pro in 285 and 345, maybe 295 and 345 in the rear? This is the first tire that's come about that's made me think that maybe 19-inch for the 992 GT3 RS is a reasonable thing to try. The reason that we haven't yet is because the tires that have been out are all slicks, Pirelli DH, AO52s, etc. And I think AO52 is actually a slick, but that's all right. R7s, you have to trailer the car to the track. That's not ideal. Yeah. Mike, you answered your own question. Hi, Jamie. I feel like the 3Rs, you need MCS, dude. Call us, get MCS for your 4RS. You will thank us later. Let's get it done right. Get it done right the first time. The spring upgrade isn't going to make it work. You need the dampers. If you're running 3Rs, you need the dampers on your 19s. Otherwise, the car is just going to get swamped. So call us next week. Let's get that done. You will thank us later. And that's the first stepping stone into the Aero. The MCS quells a whole lot of evils with the 4RS just from that. Need the MCS 3-ways for a 4RS. I'm going to say that. Anybody with a Spider, anybody with a 4RS, you need MCS at least 2-ways if it's only a street car. If it's a track car, you need 3-ways. Done. Do that. Get some suspension parts from us. Get the camber dialed in. You're going to be set forever. Car's going to be supple, compliant, beautiful, predictable. Chuck it into a corner. Chase it out. Beautiful. So, just like Ted said, MCS comes with the spring upgrade and the camber plates. It's like a threefer. Not a twofer. It's a threefer. So anyway, we're excited about this new Track Attack Pro Hoosier. I also saw that in North America, the Trofeo RS is available for the 992 GT3 RS. So we're interested in that because it's technically faster than a Cup 2R. We like the Super Sport R so far. That's what the tires are we've got down for our October 3rd track day. Hopefully the weather cooperates. We're back to maybe it's going to be okay. It was raining today. It's sunny now. Who knows if it's going to be okay. So Trofeo RS and the Hoosiers are in our future. I think one of our guys, Doug Stedding, and his 991.1 Lab Rat is going to run some Track Attack Pros, potentially at our next event. We will see. We'll get a little bit. I'm going to go for a bike ride tomorrow, Jack. I haven't been on my bike in like 2 weeks because I pulled a QL. Good night, brother. I haven't been on the bike in a few weeks, so I gave car shows a run last week, missed exotics, went to the other exotics in Carillion Point in Kirkland. It was a good time. Got to see my buddy Chris, talk about racing. I'm probably going to miss tomorrow at ERTC for British Day, which is unfortunate because I'd like to meet some of the Aston Martin crew. But, you know, I'd much rather be on my bike. So, all good. Anybody got any more questions for us or anything that we missed before we jet out and I go get some food to take home on a Friday night? Did we get through everything, Justin?
I think so.
You did tell people how their Mezger is going to blow up and they're going to be faced with a $80,000 engine build with parts that you can't get anymore unless you buy our intake. Check.
This does not affect us.
There you can post that. So, I gotcha. All right. So, Cobb Tuning and the EPA announced a settlement. For those of you who are not aware, this has been in the works for like 2 years, 2.5 years, maybe 3 years. Cobb settled with the EPA for $2.9 million over emissions defeat devices. Their emissions defeat devices were such that they were enabling things that would get rid of emissions. You I skipped that, Gabe. I'll come back to that. So they originally had check boxes to enable things like cat deletes and a number of things that were bad for the environment. And Cobb has been working to get all of their tunes carb legal, EPA approved, and they have done as such. I believe that everything that Cobb sells currently has a carb EO. Carb is the California Air. What the fuck is the R? I forget what the R is. Board. The California Air Relationship Board, or the whatever it is. Carb. So they have come to an agreement, because those of you who don't know, Holley, the carburetor company, owns Carb. Holley, the carburetor company, owns a lot of companies. They're quite large. So they own Cobb, and they've come to an accord with the EPA. The EPA has moved on to things that, thank you, resources. Thank you, Taj. California Air Resources Board. Yeah, there you go. So what's funny is Carb now runs the EPA. It seems like the tail wagging the dog, because the EPA is deferring to Carb as far as what passes and what doesn't. That's really shitty. So it doesn't affect Dundon. We've never used any of Cobb's defeat capabilities in any of the tunes that we've offered. We have not sold anything that has required a Cobb tune to not set a check engine light. So I believe we're good in that regard. There are scholars that will read the law, and I have read the law, the original law, and I have employed a number of lawyers to look at these things, and there's interpretation, but it's not. Yeah, I'm glad that they moved on to fixing Michigan's water and the other things that are going to more directly impact a large number of people's lives, like living next to a large chemical plant and everyone around the chemical plant getting cancer. Directly. Proven. Not, hey, this car doesn't have a catalyst and therefore thousands of people are dying. Really? Are you sure? These guys don't drive their cars anywhere but on racetracks. But anyway, Gabe has a question. Our window is already cracked, so we aren't concerned, but will it affect aero off the wing? Is there any pros in cutting holes in the 991.2RS rear poly window for track use? I would say roll your windows up. Roll your side windows up. Yeah, I know. Only, Rob. Yeah, only. Just silly. But anyway, the issue is by creating holes in the rear window, you're going to create a suction effect that's going to pull more air into the side windows, and it's going to create the parachute that you think you have that you don't currently have. So I'd be I'd be very concerned that you're fixing a problem you don't actually have yet. And rolling the side windows up solves the problem. 100%. Just tell them that you need to run the side windows up or you're going to have the rear window explode, and that it's no different than if you were in a GT2 RS Club Sport or a Cup car. You'll use your turn signals if somebody needs to get by you. We've effectively used this in our own local track group for the 992 GT3 RS to say, hey, we got to run windows up, European style. It's how Porsche designed the car. If I end up upside down, that's dumb. Then I would say leave them down and don't worry about it, because putting holes in the rear window is going to invite. So let me explain this a little bit better. As you're going down a front straight, you're going to have a certain amount of air that's going to fill up the cabin. It's going to create a certain amount of pressure. At the point where that pressure is equivalent to the pressure that's outside of the car, you're not going to have any more air trying to come into the car. The pressures are equal. You're done. Did you have a parachute until the pressures were equal? Yes. But if you put holes in the rear window, now you've created a flow path to create an even larger amount of pressure that needs to fill up the car before it stagnates and doesn't try to fill up the side windows. So by putting holes in it, you've now made it worse. Until you've created enough hole, i.e. the entire rear window is gone, because the surface area of the rear window needs to be larger than the surface area of the side windows. And if it's not larger than the side windows, it's not going to be enough. So I don't think that's a great idea. You would completely change the flow across the wing by doing so, because now you've got highly turbulent air coming through the side windows, coming out the rear window, highly mixed, going underneath the wing. It's not flowing over the top of the car and going under the wing as designed. Leave the rear window there. Or just cut the whole fucking roof off. Just make it a convertible, which I don't think Jason's into, because that's a completely different car at that point. So, anywho, I don't think we have a whole lot else. It is 6 o'clock. We've gone an hour and a half. We covered a lot of ground. To summarize, your Mezger is going to eat itself. You need our intake. Your 991.2 G3RS is power restricted. You need our intakes. Aluminum is horrible for heat conductivity. It heats up quickly and heats up the air that's going into your engine. You need our intakes. Carb's a bitch. They wanted to pick on cars. They've moved on. Thank God. Maybe they'll keep people from being poisoned by lead in their water, which is, to me, more important. No fallout from Cobb. Barry's got an awesome GT4 RS. Ted's going to Coda here in a week. We should see some fast lap times over there. New tires from Hoosier. Yeah. Winter Circle has their pressure set in their MCS. That was something I didn't get to cover, but we'll save that for next time. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. Oh, Justin Green with the last minute Hail Mary. Hey, real quick, what you got? I got a little tiny bit. My shit's been buzzing. There are two different headers for the 997, because one's a 3.6 liter, one's a 3.8 and a 4 liter. if you get the intake,
Well, we didn't finish the photos for the full packages.
Sorry, Gabe's like, don't bring up the MCS canisters, please. I don't want to be the example for that. So, okay. So Justin, you're talking about the pictures. All of the headers are straight back, not up and down now. They're all straight around with a short secondary that is cat and valves put together. 7.1 and 7.2. We haven't changed the pictures. This is on us, on the website team. We would do better to just copy the other ones we do have pictures for, but yes, you would get the same headers. They are still slightly different diameter wise from 7.1 to 7.2. So depending on where you were on an intake or not, we may change the headers that you're using, but in general, you're still going to get a whole lot of bang for your buck if you did 7.1 headers and and an intake. We'd make sure you got the right stuff. So thank you for that. Gabe, good luck tomorrow on testing at Laguna. And that's it. That's enough. I got a lot of shit to do in the next hour before I get home. So thanks, Larry. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's like we don't have access to our own website, or that we're just really busy and have a lot of products. But you know, I am not a crook.